Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 11.
Breaking news in Lexington tonight. A man rushed to the hospital after police say someone shot him at a motel.
Kentucky State University is taking some major steps to help recover from a $7 million deficit.
And an American doctor who survived Ebola speaks at a conference in Kentucky about his battle with the virus. WKYT News at 11 starts now.
We begin tonight with a breaking news alert out of Madison County. Good evening. Right now, investigators are searching for 2 jail inmates they say have escaped.
They say the inmates ran off moments after arriving at the Madison County Detention Center tonight. WKYT's Jerica Insco is live from Richmond with the breaking details. Jerica?
That's right. Jail officials and police and sheriff's deputies are all out searching now for those 2 inmates who the jailer tells me ran after being transported back to this jail, which is the Madison County Detention Center. Now, one of those inmates is 24-year-old Marcel Sellers, who is a black man standing at 5'8" and 155 pounds, wearing a white t-shirt and gray sweatpants. The other inmate is 20-year-old Raheem Hill, who is also black, 5'8" and 160 pounds, wearing a black and white striped jumpsuit. Both are charged with robbery first, which is what put them in jail in the first place. Now, the jailer says the jail here has been full for quite some time, and they've been keeping about 40 inmates over in Grant County. Tonight, they transported back about a dozen here to the Madison County Detention Center from Grant County. Now, after transporting Sellers and Hill back here for court on Monday, the jailer tells me they escaped moments after pulling into this parking lot, and both had on hand and feet restraints, which they obviously somehow managed to get out of and flee. Now, just to get a better visual of what happened, the jailer says they had just opened up the garage door located here at the back of the jail here in Madison County, and they tell me that they're out searching right now as we speak. Now, if you see either of these escapees, you are asked to call police. Reporting live in Richmond, Jerica Insco, WKYT.
Jerica, thank you. Also breaking tonight, a shooting at a Lexington motel sent a man to the hospital. It happened around 8 tonight at the Sportsman's Motel on Winchester Road. Lexington police say a man was shot in the arm while inside one of the rooms at the motel. The man was taken to UK hospital, but police say he does not have life-threatening injuries. Police set up a perimeter and called in a helicopter to look for the shooter, but they haven't been able to find him.
We've since discontinued that perimeter at this time, though. We don't have any other good information at this point where the suspect may be.
At last check, police didn't have a good description of the shooter. They're not sure what led to that shooting. He calls it a difficult decision that couldn't be avoided. Tonight, the president of Kentucky State University talked to us about job cuts.
KSU is trying to dig out of a $7 million deficit. So today, the Board of Regents approved cutting some job positions. WKYT's Garrett Weimer has more on those cuts and reaction from students. He's in Frankfort with our top story at 11.
You can add it to the list of things students have to think about.
We've already known that the university had a deficit, but I suppose this semester is when it's actually becoming more real, and we're starting to see how it's going to affect the university and the students as well.
Now they'll see it even more. KSU's Board of Regents approved a cost-cutting plan that puts a number of jobs on the chopping block.
Anytime you talk about a reduction, it becomes very, very difficult. And when you talk about a reduction and 70% of your budget is people, you know you're talking about impacting people. And yes, it was very difficult.
President Raymond Burse says the plan starts by eliminating some administrative positions at the university and suspending tenure and promotions this year. They'll also reevaluate each person in each position and offer buyouts for those who choose to retire. Dr. Burse says the plan the Board of Regents approved is a working plan, the first step to address the deficit.
We had a $7 million deficit, and we're working on it, and we will address it in time.
We're excited that change is coming, despite the fact we have to make some cuts.
Dr. Burse says the cuts should not hurt KSU's academic programs, especially because he says they're already overstaffed for an enrollment of under 1,900 students. In Frankfort, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
Dr. Burse did not have an exact number of how many jobs would be actually cut. He says the cost savings plan should account for 60 to 70% of the deficit by the end of this fiscal year. He says he expects to have a balanced budget by the end of the next fiscal year.
Turning a tragedy into something that could help others. The family of a Southern Kentucky teenager killed in an accident is raising money in his honor. In June, 14-year-old Austin Mincy of Somerset died in a motocross accident while competing in Indiana. His family has now created a non-profit organization in Austin's name. The money raised through it will help injured motocross riders. His father says Austin knew the dangers of the sport.
He said he didn't care, that he wasn't afraid to die. He loved the sport that much. He knew it was a possibility. And if he passed away, no regrets. He told me that at Christmas.
Tomorrow morning, the Grip It or Rip It 5K will be held at Beacon Hill Baptist Church in Somerset. It will raise money for the organization. That event begins at 9 a.m.
Investigators now say they know who played a role in abusing and abandoning a dog in Lexington. That dog, now named Felicity, has recovered and is now living with a family. In August, Animal Control says Felicity was found chained to a fence and a curse word burned into her skin. Animal Control now tells us a court summons has been issued for Felicity's former owner. Andriel Saunders faces what's called a care and treatment violation. Investigators say a second person could also face a summons.
A deadly officer-involved shooting in Nevada has a Kentucky connection. Police in Reno say a sheriff's deputy shot and killed a man Wednesday following a traffic stop. Police say that man, 33-year-old Robert Hampton, ignored commands to cooperate and sped his car toward the deputy. The deputy then shot into the vehicle. Police say Hampton was a Kentucky convict who served time in prison for carrying a concealed weapon. He also had 3 active felony warrants.
An American doctor infected with the Ebola virus while in Liberia shared his story of survival tonight. Dr. Kent Brantley spoke at the Global Missions Health Conference at Southeast Christian Church in Louisville. He was caring for Ebola patients in Liberia this summer when he became infected. He was flown to Atlanta for treatment. Doctors now say he's cured.
It's a horrible, terrible, humiliating, dignity-stripping disease.
Since recovering, the doctor has donated plasma to 3 other people who were diagnosed with Ebola.
Weekend is off and running on a very chilly note. Now we track a cold front into town. We'll let you know when it arrives in a moment.